2007, Mark Murphy was his first year.
There you go. All right. Let's dive into it, boys. Listen, we're going to hit on Packers Vikings. We're doing a PFF preview. And again, this is just to kind of see, all right, now that the rosters have been created, let's do a little deep dive into who may or may not have the advantage here. Okay. And I love this picture.
First of all, greatest picture ever uploaded to our Patreon ever. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's a metaphor for this upcoming season right there.
My man is asleep too. Look at his eyes closed. He's like, man, he's snoozing. So for those on the pod that can't see this, Tucker Kraft absolutely body slamming a Vikings player with a stiff arm. It's just unbelievable.
Let's run that number. Who is that? 21. Let's find out who that is.
Yeah, we do need to know that for sure. And is he still on the roster? I need to know that as well. So, all right, how do the Packers stack up against the Vikings? Let's start off with the Packers offense versus the Vikings defense, all right? And let's start with 11 personnel versus nickel. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. I'm going to try to get it right there in the sweet spot. So let's start with the offensive line. We kind of talked about it last night. Rashid, from left to right, Rasheed Walker, 68. Aaron Banks, 65. Elton Jenkins, 65. Jordan Morgan, 59, but an incomplete grade because of the injury. And then Zach Tom, 85. When we go to their front four in their nickel look, you've got, I don't know if it's Greenard or Grenard. I've heard it said both ways.
Grenard.
If I remember correctly, they picked him up. Was it from Houston? Is that who it was? It was someone, I want to say someone out west, southwest. But nonetheless, he was a free agent signing, and I think that was a solid pickup. He grades out an 81. It's showing he'll be rushing off the defense or the offense's left side, so he'll be going up against Rasheed Walker. We know you got to kind of take that with a grain of salt. It can mix and match, and they like to rotate those guys around. On the opposite edge, you got Van Ginkel, who's kind of a little bit more of a hybrid linebacker. He can do a little bit of everything. He can rush the passer. He can also drop into coverage. I want to say he had an interception from the Packers last year dropping into coverage, if I remember correctly. But he grades out with a 71 last year, the 33rd overall edge defender. And then in the middle, this is where it gets a little bit shaky for them, man. You've got who is that, Hargrave in the middle with an incomplete grade of a 60.6, and then Phillips with a 58.3. It seems like the soft spot in their defensive front here, Jacob, is definitely in the middle of that defensive line. Their edge defenders, that's about as good of a tandem as you're going to find across the league, man. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, definitely. Interior is where we got to try to attack them for sure. I believe it's Jonathan Hargrave and Harrison Phillips, if I'm not mistaken. I believe, again, the Vikings have done a great job of a few things. They are really good at patching and plugging and playing guys on the defense. Seems like every year they just find these random free agents that have no business anywhere else really doing much, and they come to the Vikings for pretty decent discounts on their contract, and they just really perform really well. It seems like year in and year out, they have a consistency, whether it be on the D-line or the linebacker room, that they can just get production out of seemingly, I don't want to call them like UDFAs or really like scabs or nothing, but guys that maybe haven't gotten a lot of shot or a lot of, respect or flowers from other teams, and they just seem to perform well. Jonathan Grenard, I think, is a very, very underrated D-end, edge, whatever you want to call him, and Van Ginkel is the same type of thing. Like you said, I believe he did intercept a pass against us, caused a major turnover, and the linebacker room, I know we're not quite there yet, but I think the interior is definitely where you attack. As far as D-line goes, that's definitely where you're going to make the money.
Definitely. Tim, anything to add here to the offensive line matching up against their front four?
A-gap runs, baby. Power run, baby. Yeah. Attack the middle. Let's go.
Duo.
Yep.
Let's do it. And now when you slide to, since we're talking about the running game, let's slide to the linebacker position. They got Pace Jr. at a 63, and then Blake Cashman with a 72. You guys know Blake Cashman was someone we were very vocal and like, hey, let's try to get that guy in here out of free agency 2 years ago. The Vikings went and got him, and, man, did he live up to it. He's a solid backer. So a 72 from Cashman, a 63 from Pace Jr. Obviously,
sorry, just this podcast has been pretty good. We wanted Cashman. Remember, we wanted Bobby Wagner. Mm-hmm. There was another linebacker that I thought we kind of tipped our hat at, and he had a decent year too. I can't remember who it was, but
it was Isaiah Simmons, and we got him.
So that's right. Yeah, that's what it was.
There you go.
We loved them the whole time.
It's true, and not to toot our own horn, but like there weren't. I can't think of a free agent where we were like, I mean, if you go back to who they actually signed at the top of our list, we made our shopping list. It was Xavier McKinney. We went and got him. Bang. Now, Josh Jacobs snuck up on us because we were expecting to get Aaron Jones back, and you didn't expect to have them both. But, man, did Goody crush that signing? So, yeah, I'm with you, Jacob. It seems like the players that we talk kind of highly about, they end up going out and playing good football, specifically Blake Cashman and Bobby Wagner. And you got to think, too, man, what if we had still drafted Edgerrin Cooper, but we had went out and signed Bobby Wagner, who was top 3 in the league? I mean, imagine that 4-3 front, you know? I mean, that was so. But then again, Tim, would Cooper have gotten on the field?
Right.
Bobby Wagner was there, you know? So it's kind of
the same thing we're talking about this year with, Isaiah Simmons and, a guy like Tyron Hopper, right? You want your best guys out there, but you don't want to be a progress stopper for these young guys, right?
Yeah, I keep looking at the chat and seeing AFAM's mom call people darling. I just can't take it, man. It makes me want to laugh the entire time. So anyway, Josh Jacobs, a 92.3 PFF grade, the 3rd highest graded running back in the league, going up against that front and obviously those linebackers in the running game. Now, something else that you got to take into consideration is how this defense is going to operate. Historically speaking, B-Flow over there, Brian Flores, likes to call a lot of 0-man blitz. However, last couple years, he's kind of he can mix and match the same way that Belichick could. And obviously, he studied under Belichick for so many years and won a lot of Super Bowls with Bill. But you kind of look at the matchup of Tucker Kraft with those linebackers. I like Tucker Kraft's chances against either Blake Cashman or Pace Jr. I think that we haven't seen the best version of Tucker Kraft yet. So that's just something to take into consideration there as well. And, of course, the safeties will help a little bit with that too. Let's just jump to the safety position real quick, and then we'll get into the cornerback wide receiver matchup. So Harrison Smith had a drop-off last year, did he not, fellas? 67? That's kind of –
he has to. The guy's 56 years old.
I was gonna say, he's going to have to be forcibly removed from the NFL. That guy is not going to retire unless you make him.
And listen, 67 isn't a bad grade, right?
No,
but
it's just not near where he used to be, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So – and then, of course, you've got – I can't see what the other name is there.
Martellus.
What is it?
Martellus.
Martellus? Who the hell is that? I need that. Who? Tim? 65 was his PFF grade.
I think it's Jonathan Martellus. He's been around the league a few years for sure. Who? Thank you, Tim.
So, obviously, the safeties are not the strong point of this defense, but they're not horrible either. You know what I mean? Like a 67 to 65, pretty solid. So Tucker Kraft, who's he going to be matched up on? If they're firing a blitz, it may be matched up on a safety. If they're just playing spot dropper, a little matchy look on the backside, it may be Cashman or Pace Jr. So that's kind of how that matchup shakes out. Let's move on to wide receiver. So like we had talked about last night, the starting lineup it shows here is Romeo Doubs, 69, Jaden Reed, 71. Matthew Golden obviously does not have a grade, being a rookie coming in. Now, it looks like they've got a rookie in Blackman, and then they've got Murphy Jr. in the slot, the 22nd highest graded cornerback in the entire league last year to 73.4, and then the 24th highest graded cornerback in the league over with a 73.2 in Rodgers. So their defense looks pretty solid. I'm gonna go and just do a quick check here and see where they rank defensively. But what do you guys think about how the wide receivers and the DBs match up here?
It almost seems like corner is probably their strong suit, other than maybe edge there on the D line. So I don't think we can sleep on those matchups. It's tough when you got a rookie DB out there. We got a rookie receiver, so no grades there. Kind of the wild card unknowns. But it'll be fun to see some of these matchups with Rome and Reed and Tucker Kraft and these guys working with some of these corners and safeties. So I don't think we can take that for granted, and that's all the more reason, right, to run the football, try and soften up that pass D a little bit,
Yeah, Jacob, with the pass defense, it looks like they gave up 6.5 yards per pass attempt last year, and that was 11th best in the league. So they're borderline top 10 passing defense, looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, honestly, if you were to make me pick which position group is their strength, I think I would say cornerback room. They was it Byron Murphy Jr. they re-signed. I know that he was going to test the market, and that was probably their best homegrown guy that they had. Blackman, I can't remember his first name, but I believe that was another draft pick that they wanted to see come to fruition. I think he had some injuries last year, but they were higher on him, I believe, than they were of any of the others. So They could have another third or second, third string guy that's pretty strong. Rodgers, I want to say that was another free agent. My mind is telling me Isaiah Rodgers, but that's the guy we got, right? I believe that was a free agent pickup as well. But honestly, if your cornerbacks are consistently in the mid 70s, I'd be pumped about that. You know what I mean? Like consistently. So I was a little surprised when I look at that breakdown. I think that the interior defense is just screaming that is a glaring weakness for the Minnesota Vikings, which has not always been the case. My mind frame always goes to the Williams wall with Pat and Kevin Williams and just not being able to do anything through the A gap, the B gap, anywhere near those freaking monsters, the twin towers that were those dudes. So
yeah, depressing time there with the Williams wall, man. They were such
tough. Simons, okay, is who we
got.
Isaiah Rodgers, yeah.
Minnesota's run defense was fourth best in the league, allowing only 4.1 yards per rush attempt. The Green Bay Packers are right ahead of them at 4.0. So the run defense is pretty solid as well. We got Emilio joining us now. Emilio, we're just kind of breaking down the comparison here. Our 11 personnel versus the Vikings nickel defense. Vikings look pretty stout, man. Their numbers are solid too. Borderline top 10 passing defense last year. You're talking about a top 5 running defense. I'm going to go to points per play next, but what do you think about what you see here on the chart, man?
Yeah, no, I mean, they went out and spent in free agency to bring the those D tackles in, right, to try to bolster that where they were a little light there. Pretty sure Van Ginkel got some money this offseason as well, so they're trying to rebuild it, keep it going. Harrison Smith somehow still back there. I mean, I don't know, but I think we were matching up a lot better against the Vikings this year. I think with our O-line and everything. But yeah, they're always trying to patch some holes. I think Tim or Jacob was hitting on that.
Definitely. And when it comes to points per play, so you're basically scoring defense, Minnesota was just ahead of the Green Bay Packers in the number 4 spot at 0.318. So they had a legit top 5 defense last year, no doubt. Right. So, all right, let's move down to 12 personnel now. All right, so this is our 12 offense, 1 running back, 2 tight ends against their base defense, which as you can see here, they run a 34 front, and you'll notice that Van Ginkel kicks outside. Grenard kicks outside, and then they go to that 3-man front with the nose tackle. Looks like Phillips is going to play nose tackle. They got Allen at one end, Hargrave at the other. Again, PFF-wise, they look like cheeks, but the numbers suggest the defense played pretty well last year. Now, Emilio, do you know which one of those or how many of those players were free agent signings?
The 2 D tackles were, I'm pretty sure. Let me pull it up.
So maybe both Hargrave and Phillips, what you're thinking?
Hargrave and Allen, I believe, were.
That's who it was. Okay. Gotcha. I'll tell you, man, I don't know how much they paid them, but PFF didn't agree with it too much, right? As they're grading out in the 50s, borderline 50s there for Hargrave at a 60.6. But nonetheless, that's their 34 jam look there. And then they bring Pace Jr. in at inside linebacker. You can see how in the nickel, Van Ginkel kicks back to stack backer, but in the base, he plays that outside linebacker edge position.
Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, they brought in. They also brought in Jerry Tillery, DT, and Jonathan Bullard, DN, and Jonathan Grenard, linebacker.
Got it. Good stuff, man. All right. So that's kind of how the Packers and the Vikings stack up with the Packers offense against their defense. Now, the big thing that changes here with 12, Musgrave coming in again, we talked about it last night, somewhat incomplete, being banged up last year. 47 is his PFF grade. And the big thing that changes there, obviously, is they're going to bring in kind of Pace Jr. and let Van Ginkel rush off the edge along with Grenard at outside linebacker. So, I kind of feel like that's a push between Pace Jr. and Musgrave in terms of trying to catch them in a mismatch. So,
might be a good opportunity to try what we discussed last night, right, Clayton? Bringing in a Savion Williams or utilizing Jaden Reed a little differently, kind of running that 12 personnel without 2 tight ends necessarily on the field.
Savion the H-back, baby.
Yep.
If you go that route, then you're minus Musgrave, and what they're going to read is 11 personnel, so that would trigger back to their nickel defense. So that would be the defense you'd be facing if you had Savion in the lineup as opposed to our boy Musgrave. And I'm with you, Tim. I think I would rather see that, personally. Now, I know there's a lot of people. The hype train is full steam ahead for Musgrave. I've seen a lot of people going, we need to play more 12. We need to play more 12. I disagree. I think our best 11 is in 3 wide receiver sets. You know, I mean, you can see it with the explosive plays last year. It just feels like that's where they're most comfortable at. Matt wants to make sure that he's got enough weapons on the field, and Musgrave obviously not playing with great contact balance, at least at this point in his career. So we'll
doesn't
see.
Doesn't it almost seem logical that, you know, we sit here every night talking about how we could have 7, 8, 9 wide receivers on this league or on this team, that why would we force being in 12? You know what I mean?
Right.
Clearly, we got talent bursting out of the seams at the wide receiver position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
and
look
we've
at it.
proven to be able to run the ball also out of 11 personnel very effectively. So,
and when you look at it too, it's like you can look at it from a personnel standpoint. Go, okay, I think this is our best 11 players. But then you look at it historically and precedent. All right, what's Matt LaFleur like to do? He loves 11 personnel. You know, there's this big misconception that he's going to run 21 and 12 all the time. It's like that's not who he and McVay are. You know, Shanahan, sure. But I think you're going to see Shanahan shift out of that now that Juszczyk is kind of – I think he's gone now, right? He's not even on the team
Yeah,
anymore.
he's gone. He's gone.
So I bet you'll see Shanahan kick back into a little more 12 look and maybe some balanced 2x2s as opposed to putting a bunch of people in the back, because Debo's gone as well, you know? So right. Debo was that guy they like the motion in the backfield. So United Bates says – it is one of the things I love about this chat. Different ages, different life experiences, and still all can talk ball and have a good time, man. I agree, Bates. Sometime when the show, you know, when I'm in here talking, and I'm like, man, I'm so tired of hearing my own damn voice. And I just glance into the chat, and it just makes my day. You guys are unbelievable in there. You never know what you're going to get in the chat, that's for sure. So we got a good group, though, man. I'm telling you, you guys need to hop into the Patreon group. It's awesome people in there. It's really, really cool. You can get connected with everybody in there and chat it up for sure.